Hey, I'm Mike with Smokin and Drinkin, and today we're going to brew a delicious and cheap table wine with ingredients you have in your kitchen for only 10 bucks. And stick around until the end and I'll show you how you can make a simple but succulent pulled pork to serve it with. Today I'm going to show you how to make a delicious, simple red wine for just 10 bucks with things you have around the house. Welch's 100% Concord grape juice, cup and a half of sugar, and Fleishman's active dry yeast. That's it. There's those three simple ingredients. You want to make sure that you don't have to use Welch's, but you want to make sure you get 100% juice. Check the ingredients and make sure there aren't any sulfites or sorbates or any kind of preservatives in there, because that will hamper the fermentation process. This is a simple thing you can do around the house. Try and get started if you don't know if you can make a wine or not and you want to try it. No special equipment. A funnel is about as special as we're going to get today, but it's very simple. So let's get started. So the first thing you want to do is pour out a little bit of your grape juice into a glass. A little bit more. About that much. That should do it. Set that aside. And then you want to take your funnel. Make sure you have a clean, dry funnel. If you have a wet funnel, your sugar is going to stick to it and it won't all get into the juice. So we want it to be clean and sanitary as possible. But it's a cup and a half of sugar. I've already measured it out. We're just going to pour that right into the juice. Make sure we get it all in there. Okay. And then what we want to do, we want to make sure all that juice is dissolved. So you can see it all on the bottom there. So just want to shake it up. Shake it up. Make sure you get it all dissolved. And it's good to have some oxygen in there. You see a lot of bubbles in there. To start the fermentation process, yeast needs oxygen. You might have heard, but wait, Mike, you don't want oxygen in your wine. Well, we don't have wine yet. We're making, right now, this is what you call a must. And for fermentation, the yeast needs oxygen. Now, after you have alcohol in there, then you definitely don't want oxygen in your brew. But right now, we just want to get it all shook up, get all the sugar dissolved in there. Okay, that's pretty good. So we take the lid back off, take our Fleischmann's active dry yeast, just the regular old bread yeast, stuff you have around the house. And we're gonna put the whole pack in there, except what we spill on the table. And just pour it right in there. Okay. Then you want to put the cap back on. Give it a little shake just to get that yeast into the juice, into the must. Okay. Now, the only other thing you need to do is, since we're not using special equipment, we don't have an airlock, we don't have a blow-off tube, don't use a balloon. Those aren't the greatest thing, but you want to put the cap, just turn it maybe a quarter turn, just enough that when you squeeze it, the lid pops up and down. What that's going to do, that's going to allow the carbon dioxide and other gases that are created by fermentation, it's going to allow them to escape, but it's going to keep all the bad stuff out of our brew. fruit flies love this sugary drink, so they'll try and get in there, but just have that loose enough that it'll keep, it drops back down when you stop squeezing it. That'll keep all the bad stuff out. Now, just need to let this set. Probably take a week, maybe 2 weeks, and pretty soon you'll start to see bubbles coming up in there. That's the carbon dioxide. That means that the yeast are working. You might take it once every day or two, tighten the lid, give it a good shake, then loosen the lid again, just a quarter turn or less, just enough so that it bounces on there but won't come off. And then you're wondering, what do you do with this? Hey, enjoy it. Love that grape juice. So that's it. Probably take like I said, a week or two, maybe 3. Usually goes pretty quick. Depends on the temperature of your house or your room. Sometimes the warmer it is, the faster it'll go. It really just depends on the yeast and on the conditions. My house is generally about 73, 74 degrees this time of year. A little on the warm side, but I suspect probably in about a week this ought to be done. So we'll check back in a week or so, and for you it'll just be a few seconds. Okay, so our wine has been sitting for about 2 weeks. All the activity seems to have stopped. There's no new bubbles coming up. The color is very interesting. It's cloudy, but that's pretty normal. It takes a while for that to settle out. We'll just age it in the bottles. Let's take a smell of it here. Smells like wine. So I think we're ready to bottle. Again, this is a simple brew. Most complicated tool we need is a funnel. Bottles, whatever you got lying around the house. You have an old wine bottle or even an old vodka bottle or whiskey bottle, whatever you have. As long as it has a cap that you can seal it, that's really all you need. So let's get it into bottles. Normally, if you're doing this, you want to have a little bit of equipment. You want to have, you know, a racking cane or a auto siphon, and you want to take this out of the bottle using an auto siphon. Pouring it, there's a risk of adding oxygen back into it, but this is probably at least 10, maybe 12% alcohol. The risk is pretty low, but we're going to pour gently so as to try and minimize the oxygenation in it. We're just going to pour slow, and so there's sediment on the bottom. It's called lees, and that's just the dead yeast and particles. Just normal. It's a normal thing. Can't really see it yet. You'll probably see it when we're done. But you want to pour gently, and we'll stop just short of pouring it all out. We'll lose a little bit, but we don't want that lees in there if we can help it. So we're just going to pour real gentle. Try and minimize that oxygenation. This will probably take 2, maybe 3 bottles. Probably 2.5. Some other tools that you might want to get if you're going to do this regularly is a hydrometer. That helps you measure the specific gravity, which helps you calculate your alcohol, but more importantly, it helps you determine when your brew is finished. Just kind of going by guess and by visual today, but let's use this. I've got an old wine bottle here, a couple of old wine bottles. And you see the bubbles coming up in there. When you're creating alcohol, fermenting, it creates carbon dioxide and a lot of other gases, but that's what those bubbles are. It's just the carbon dioxide coming off. When we get close to the end, we'll stop, and I'm pouring gently so as much of the sediment as I can, or lees, will catch in the shoulder of the grape juice bottle, and maybe we'll keep some of it out, but there's going to be some in there. When you're done pouring these in and capping them, you'll want to keep them in your refrigerator, because we don't know for sure if the fermentation is done, and keeping them in the refrigerator will slow that fermentation process, and you'll want to drink these fairly soon. Might be able to keep them 6 months, maybe a year. Make sure you keep them in your refrigerator. Okay, yep, there's a lot of bubbling going on, and it's still very cloudy. You'll have a lot of that sediment settled in the bottom of the bottle. That's okay. When you go to pouring yourself a glass, you just want to pour slowly, and it'll catch that sediment in the shoulder of the bottle. So, looks like we might get about maybe half of this bottle. When you're using the funnel in a bottle like this, you want to tilt the funnel a little bit so that it doesn't seal off the bottle. Otherwise, you'll get bubbling and gurgling, and just makes it harder. Yeah, we're maybe getting a glass. We'll pour out of this one for our glass. I'm going to stop there. Yeah, you can see a lot of the leaves on the bottom there. That's what you discard, so I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, I think we need to pour a glass. When you first get this finished, sometimes it has a little bit of an off smell. That's mostly the carbon dioxide. I wouldn't worry about it too much. If it has a really strange smell like vinegar, that's a bad thing. If you see little floaties in there, sometimes there's a risk of mold, but if you keep the cap on, tight enough that it keeps most of that oxygen from coming in, the carbon dioxide is heavier than air, so it pushes that air out. Normally you won't have to worry about oxygenation or mold or anything like that. But if you're gonna do this, like I say, get some equipment. In another video, we'll talk about equipment. Let's get a taste here. Again, it's gonna taste pretty young. Wine needs some age. And just put it in your fridge and chill it down a little bit, let it settle. Probably take at least a week or two for that to settle out. Just let it sit. All right, let's taste it. Like I said, it's young, but it tastes like wine. It's very good. You can really get that alcohol bite in there. It's probably 11 or 12% if I had to guess. Obviously without equipment, you don't know for sure, but it's got a good alcohol, that alcohol bite to it that a stronger wine does. There you have it, a cheap red wine for less than 10 bucks with ingredients you had in your kitchen. That's it for today. Thanks for watching Smokin' and Drinkin'. Remember to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Prost!